for her valuable briefing. We thank Algeria, Pakistan, China, and the Russian Federation for supporting this meeting and for their clear condemnation of Israeli brutal attacks. Madam President, on 13 June, Israel launched a large-scale, unprovoked military attack against the Islamic Republic of Iran. Civilian cities, including Tehran, Isfahan, Shiraz, Tabriz, and Kermanshah, were deliberately targeted. The strikes were planned and systematic, killing senior military officials, scientists, professors, students, doctors, artists, athletes, rescuers, and ordinary civilians, including women, children, and infants. Many died in their sleep. These children killed in their bed. Hundreds of civilians have been killed and thousands injured. The aggression continues. On 16 June, Israel attacked Hakim Children's Hospital in Tehran, Farabi Rehabilitation Hospital in Kermanshah, and Iranian Red Crescent Society building and medical ambulances. These are only a few instances of the brutality and gross violation of international humanitarian law by Israeli regime. At least 2 pregnant women and their unborn children were killed. On the same day, Israel struck the national broadcasters IRIB during a live broadcast, killing journalists and humanitarian workers. Just today, Israeli regime inflicted damage to 2 other hospitals in Iran, endangering the lives of patients and medical personnel. Up till now, 5 hospitals have suffered from heinous attack of Israeli regime, along with physicians and humanitarian personnel who have been killed or injured. There were not accidents, there were not collateral damage, they were deliberated war crimes, acts of a state terror, and example of barbaric warfare. Madam President, Excellencies, and colleagues, Israel also attacked Iran's peaceful safeguard nuclear site and facilities. On 13 June, it struck the uranium conversion facility and the fuel plate fabrication plant. On 18 June, it targeted centrifuge production sites in Tehran and Karaj, both under IAEA monitoring. On the 19th June, it attacked the Arak heavy water reactor built under the JCPOA terms and IAEA safeguard with no proliferation risk. These attacks violate the UN Charter, international law, the IAEA Statute, and Security Council Resolution 2231 and 487. Israeli strikes are an assault on the global non-proliferation regime. Security Council Resolution 487, which was adopted unanimously, clearly states that any military attack on the safeguard nuclear facilities is an attack on the entire IAEA safeguard system and the NPT itself. The Security Council must implement its resolution. If the Council fails to act now, it will send a message that international law and resolution apply selectively. If the non-proliferation regime collapses, this Council will share responsibility with the Israeli regime. Madam President, despite Iran's repeated warning about the threats of our peaceful nuclear sites and facilities, the IAEA Director General has failed to act. His silence undermines the agency's authority, neutrality, and credibility. The IAEA cannot remain silent while safeguard facilities are attacked. This inaction must end. Israel openly declared that it will continue this strike for as many days as it takes. We are alarmed by credible report that the United States, as a depository of NPT, may be joining this war. Any such support violates the NPT and undermines global security. The selective invocation of international law by US, France, using it when convenient, discarding it when it constrained their allies, is a form of institutional hypocrisy that gravely undermines the credibility of this Council and the international law. Let me be clear, Iran's nuclear program is peaceful and under the world's most extensive IAEA inspections. Iran has long advocated for a nuclear weapon-free zone in the Middle East. Israel is the only possessor of undeclared nuclear weapon in the region. It refused to accede to the NPT and blocked regional disarmament efforts. Madam President, Israeli aggression violates the UN Charter. It breached the basic principle of prohibition of the use of force. It violates Iran's sovereignty and territorial integrity. It violates international human rights law and targets innocent civilians and threatens the right of life and security of our people. This regime committed war crimes, crimes against humanity, and state terrorism. It attacks on safeguard nuclear facilities, set a dangerous precedent for global security. Madam President, the already dire situation has been exacerbated by mounting and irrefutable evidence of direct involvement by the United States in this illegal war of aggression. The US has publicly threatened to strike Iran's safeguard nuclear facilities. Such acts constitute a flagrant violation of Article 2, Paragraph 4 of the UN Charter and a breach of the sovereign equality of states. These reckless statements and actions emanate from the head of a state who is a permanent member of this Council and entrusted with primary responsibility for international peace and security, and an irresponsible behavior. Madam President, Iran has exercised its inherent right to self-defense under Article 51 of the UN Charter. Our response has complied fully with international law, including humanitarian law. We have taken all necessary precautions to protect civilians. Iran will continue to exercise this right as long as the Security Council fails to discharge its primary responsibility under the Charter and until the Israeli aggression is fully and unequivocally terminated. The Security Council must act now. We reiterate our call on the Security Council to determine the Israeli illegal use of force and armed attacks against Iran are a breach of peace and act of aggression. Adopt binding and enforcement measures under Chapter 7 to halt the aggression and prevent its recurrence. Condemn clearly the violation of Iran's sovereignty and targeting of our safeguard nuclear facilities. Address the risk of wider regional war, especially the unlawful involvement of a third country. Madam President, the lies and fabrication used by the representative of Israeli regime and its Western allies don't work anymore to whitewash and justify its horrendous crimes. International law is clear. There is no right for Israel to commit this act of aggression, no right to attack and target civilian infrastructure or safeguard nuclear facilities, no legal or moral cover for war crimes. The so-called preemptive attack and existential threat claims used by this terrorist regime and its allies to justify aggression have no basis in international law, and to conduct acts of aggression, kill innocent people, and violate the territorial integrity of states. These are false excuses for Israeli aggression. Iran has never initiated any war, while Israel, as an occupying and terrorist regime, has a long and dark history of illegal use of force, violation of all legal international norms, assassination, and nuclear secrecy that destabilized the entire region. The selective use of international law by certain members of this Council expose dangerous double standards that endanger international peace and security and undermine the credibility of this body. Without the support and protection of certain Western states, especially the United States, Israel would not could not have been able to commit this aggression with such impunity. This complicity must be recorded by history. Finally, Madam President, Council's failure to act at this critical juncture would constitute a profound abdication of the Council's responsibilities and a grave betrayal of fundamental principles of the United Nations. Inaction will embolden the aggressor, undermine international law, and send a message of dangerous impunity to the world. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank the representative of the Islamic Republic of Iran for his statement, and I give the floor now to the representative of Israel.
Madam President, I would like to thank the Secretary General, USG De Carlo, and Director General Grossi for your remarks. Madam President, before I begin my remarks, I must address the representative of the Islamic regime in Iran, Mr. Iravani. How dare you? How dare you write 5 letters in the last week, come before this council, demand a session, and ask the international community for sympathy? How dare you ask the international community to protect you from the consequences of your own genocidal agenda? Have you no shame? For years, your supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has publicly and repeatedly called for the destruction of Israel and the United States. In May 2024, he declared, and I quote, "The divine promise to eliminate the Zionist entity will be fulfilled." In May 2025, he said, and I quote, "The Zionist regime that is a lethal, dangerous, cancerous tumor should certainly be eradicated, and it will be." These statements are your regime's policies. Your government has attempted the assassination of Prime Minister Netanyahu. It attempted the assassination of President Trump. Your operatives have plotted to attack Jewish communities and kill Israeli civilians across the world. Now, with innocent blood still dripping from your hands, you come here asking for sympathy. You demand protection from this council while plotting the extermination of my people. It's enough. Enough with the performances. Enough with the theater. How can this council allow the representative of a regime that funds, arms, and orchestrates terror across the world to come here and play victim? It's like a wolf complaining when the shepherd fights back to protect his flock. So innocent. Mr. Iravani, please clarify to us. Do you support the destruction of Israel, a UN member state? Do you support the assassination of our elected leaders? If you do not, say so. We are all here, waiting. This council should put an end to this charade, once and for all. Mr. Iravani, you are not a victim. You are not even a diplomat. You are a wolf pretending to be a diplomat. And we are done pretending otherwise. Madam President, on Wednesday night, Iran launched a ballistic missile directly at a hospital. And by the way, I listened to your word. You mentioned that we attacked hospitals. I ask you to provide a list of the hospitals that Israel attacked in Iran. We know what we are doing. If we attacked hospitals, show us the locations, show us the names and the list. Iran launched a ballistic missile directly at a hospital, Soroka Medical Center in Beersheba, the largest hospital in southern Israel. It was struck by a precision-guided missile fired by the Islamic Republic of Iran. This hospital serves over 1 million people, Jews, Muslims, Christians, Druze, Bedouin. It is a vital provider of emergency and trauma care. Iran hit it in purpose. There was no military bases around, no mistakes, leaving those million people with severely reduced access to medical service. This was not a misfire. This was not a mistake. Iran has proven its ability to strike strategic targets with accuracy. This was a deliberate act. It is a blatant violation of international law, a war crime, and a calculated attempt to murder the most vulnerable. Let this Council understand what that missile really signified. That no one is safe. That if Iran will target a hospital with a ballistic missile, it will target anyone, anywhere, with anything they have. Today it was Beersheba. Tomorrow it could be Brussels. Soon it could be Boston. Iran is rapidly expanding its ballistic missile arsenal. Today its longest range missiles can travel over 2,000 kilometers. That already puts Eastern Europe in range. But Iran is not stopping there. Iran is developing missiles with a range of over 4,000 kilometers. That would place every European capital, London, Paris, Berlin, Rome, within striking distance. And when that milestone reaches, what comes next? New York, Washington, the US entire East Coast. Before Israel took action, that reality was approaching faster than you could imagine. Council members, do you believe that such a regime will hesitate to threaten entire populations with nuclear-armed missiles? Can you guarantee? Especially a regime which chants death to America, death to England, death to Israel, and so many others. Because that is where the world was heading. Israel is stopping it. Iran has already enriched uranium to near weapons-grade levels. It cannot be denied. We saw the reports. It has built deep underground facilities designed to survive bunker-busting bombs. It has advanced missile delivery systems. And it has lied to the IAEA and the world at every step. There must finally be an acknowledgement that there is no greater threat to international peace and security than a nuclear Iran. The Soroka strike of our hospital should end any illusion that this threat is theoretical. Iran is not just building the capability, it is using it. We will never allow those capabilities to go nuclear. While the Ayatollah shout death to America and death to Israel, many on this council dismiss those threats. While Iranian missiles fly, the UN urges restraint and de-escalation while ignoring Iran's nuclear ambitions altogether. That weakness, that detachment from reality, that hypocrisy is what allowed Iran to get as far in its nuclear program as it did. It is what allowed Iran to sow chaos across the world. And let's analyze it for a minute. The Iranian regime has exported thousands of drones which have killed many civilians. It has harmed Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, the Houthis in Yemen, Shiite militias in Iraq, extremist groups in Syria and Africa, and criminal networks in Latin America and Europe. It's a war machine, stretched all around the world. Its reach is not limited by borders. Its hatred is not limited by reason. and its ambition is not limited by geography. We have already seen the consequences. Terror attacks in Argentina, Iranian agents uncovered in European capitals, proxy missile strikes on Gulf states. This is Iran's vision for the world, and it's happening in real time. Right now, Israel is the focus point for that murderous vision. Just yesterday, Iran launched another ballistic missile, this time carrying cluster munitions at a densely populated civilian area in central Israel. Cluster munitions are designed to spread multiple explosions over a wide area. It deliberately fired these munitions at civilians. Iran's intentions could not be clearer. Bloody murder. 29 civilians have been killed and almost 900 wounded by Iranian missiles. The only reason the number isn't higher is because of Israel's advanced defensive capabilities. So yes, Israel acted because we understand the cost of waiting. We will not wait for another threat, whether that is rockets, missiles, terrorists, or an atomic bomb. Israel acted as a last resort. This was the final window of opportunity to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons, and it came only after diplomacy had been exhausted. Israel cannot and will not accept this situation. Operation Rising Lion was launched to neutralize an imminent and existential threat, and we are doing so in full compliance with international law. Israel is strictly following the law of armed conflict, including the rules of distinction, proportionality, and precautions in attacks. That's why I'm waiting for the report about the hospitals. Our strikes are aimed at military objectives based on reliable intelligence. Every measure is taken to minimize harm to civilians. Iran launches indiscriminate barbaric missile attacks. They deliberately target population centers. This is the difference between a democracy acting in defense of its people and a brutal regime targeting civilians. Colleagues, it is Israeli civilians running for shelter now, every day. But something many of you also seem not to understand is that when Israel acts, we are not only defending our people, we are defending yours. As German Chancellor Merz said, and I quote, Israel is doing the world's dirty work. We are the first target, but we will not be the last. We are holding the line between civilization and genocidal jihadist imperialism. Iran doesn't just want to destroy Israel. It wants to remake the world order. One missile, one terror proxy, one destroyed hospital at a time. So no, we do not apologize for defending ourselves. We do not apologize for striking Iran's nuclear facilities. We do not apologize for neutralizing the threat. Because while some here raise their voices when Israel strikes a ballistic missile site, they fall silent when Iran strikes a surgical wound. Some condemn us for destroying a drone factory, but say nothing when Iran hits a residential building. That is not balance. That is moral collapse. We are doing what this council should have done long ago. We are acting where the international community hesitated. We are stopping a threat that endangered the entire world. Though our homes, our families, and our children are under threat, we will not stop. Not until Iran's nuclear threat is dismantled. Not until its war machine is disarmed. Not until our people and yours are safe.